Outlook is still an app where many of us spend a lot of our time, and a lot of the work we do there seems like it could be a really good fit for Copilot to be of assistance. And with Microsoft's recent Wave 3 Copilot updates and other new features that have arrived there, I want to show you 5 new ways Copilot's AI can help you get more done in Outlook. Keep watching to the end to see the feature I am most excited about. My name is Nick DeCourcy. I'm a Microsoft 365 consultant who specialises in AI adoption for small and medium-sized businesses. I'm also a Microsoft MVP for Microsoft 365 Copilot. If you're interested in keeping up with AI advancements, make sure you get subscribed to the channel and drop this video a like so you get to see more from me in the future. And if you're interested in working with me, check out the links down in the video description to get in contact. First, agentic experiences have come to email drafting, whether new messages or replies in Outlook. This aligns with the Edit with Copilot rollout we have seen across other Microsoft 365 apps, and adds a similar set of capabilities in Outlook to work with email messages. Here I'm in Outlook on the web, but you can use these capabilities in the modern Outlook app too. So if I decide to write a reply to this email, you can see that instead of getting the old clunky prompting dialogue when opted to use Copilot in a new message, the Copilot Chat sidebar opens with Edit with Copilot, previously known as Agent Mode elsewhere in the suite, turned on by default. If I turn it off, I'm just chatting with Copilot, but if I have it in the chat, within the context of a message, it can work on that email. But Edit with Copilot is contextual. I can only select it when I have an editable dialogue open in Outlook, otherwise it's not available. But that doesn't mean that Copilot can't act here. For example, in my inbox, I can ask Copilot to flag certain emails, and it will go ahead and do that. Or mark certain emails as read, and it can do that too. This is a little confusing as it makes it a bit ambiguous as to the types of capabilities Copilot will have in different places. But overall, this new, more action-oriented Copilot in Outlook is great. I also get the power of work IQ. For example, here I can draft an email based on a specific file. But Edit with Copilot does have limitations. For example, if I ask it to attach the file it's referenced to create the email, it's unable to do this. In fact, it states that it's able to modify recipient, subject and body only and nothing else. So while this is a huge step forward, there is clearly potential for this to improve even further, as adding grounding context as attachments would, in my opinion, be a very logical need for many users. I will say though that the new Copilot Cowork is likely to give Copilot in Outlook a run for its money with these sorts of capabilities going forward. Take a look at my first impressions video linked below and look out for more detailed Cowork analysis that will be coming up in the future. Next, I want to look at the chat experience, because just as better integration of Copilot into Outlook is important, another area of priority has been integration of Outlook into chat. Here you can see that I can now in chat directly ask Copilot to draft a message. It will go ahead and do so and offer up its work in a full drafting experience I can work in, or open in Outlook and then send the message directly from here or from there. This level of integration is great, as the whole premise of Copilot to some extent is the ability to allow users to work more flexibly in terms of from where they do stuff. It's that context switching that is the real time tax on users, and the more that Copilot can help us stay in the flow of work where we're working, the more productive you're able to be where you choose to work. This won't be the interface for email for everyone, but having this type of integration is an important step in making Copilot Chat a place where real work can happen. But Copilot Chat is also available in the other Microsoft 365 apps, and while I have not seen this end-to-end emailing experience appear in chat there, I have started to see the older Edit in Outlook integration in those Copilot sidecars. For example, here, working in Excel, I can have Copilot write an email related to some of the data on screen and open that email directly from Excel to send from Outlook. My hope is these types of full in-chat context integrations will make their way to the Microsoft 365 apps that integrate with Copilot Chat. This would allow you to work on whatever is your core focus at the time, a document, a presentation, a spreadsheet, etc., and then use chat for everything else you need without context switching. Whether or not this is the ultimate aim is currently not something that has been communicated by Microsoft. Microsoft 365 Copilot is constantly evolving with new capabilities like these, but its value isn't in keeping track of a growing list of features. It's finding the ones that allow AI to become part of your regular flow of work. Since Copilot first launched, I've been helping businesses turn their new users into power users. If you need help, either as an individual or for your team, I offer a range of training and adoption support options. Find out more using the links in the video description. Similarly to creating emails from chat, we can now also do exactly the same with appointments. You chat about what you need, decide you want a meeting as an outcome, ask Copilot to schedule it, and it appears with a neat little widget that looks somewhat like a cut-down scheduling assistant in Outlook. And again, if you need the full capabilities of Outlook, you can just directly go there from this widget, or you can finish up in chat. Copilot can even follow up with creating additional meeting assets such as an agenda, though right now it seems to create a second copy of that meeting when it does this fairly consistently. But the fact you can build your meeting grounded on your conversation without ever leaving chat is a pretty big step forward in terms of how Copilot can help very practical day-to-day tasks be more efficient. It's important to consider the broader story this starts to tell about Copilot's part in workflow change. There are lots of fairly rudimentary tasks most of us do in Outlook that we need to jump in and out of that app through the day for. Sometimes these are the result of an activity that starts in Outlook and is completed there. For example, you receive an email, you review the attached document, you decide you need a meeting, and you set that appointment as a result. But equally often, you are just shoehorned into jumping across to Outlook because your work drives you there. You're working on a slide deck for next quarter's revenue objectives and you realise you need to connect with your sales leader to discuss a specific aspect of this. You jump across to Outlook to set this up and then you have to return to your other work. In this case, Outlook just provides a simple ancillary function, but because that function is locked in that app, you have to context switch to do it. Microsoft is rewiring that approach to work by making chat the hub for certain types of productivity, and then allowing you to do a bunch of ancillary functions from that context, whether it's setting up a meeting, sending an email, drafting a document, or building a spreadsheet. In these videos, I tend to focus on this feature by feature, but the story is Copilot-powered work redesign. Not just a set of random features that have been somewhat AI-ified. As more capabilities arrive natively in chat, we get closer to a place where you can work from whichever app makes sense to you and rely on Copilot as your assistant to do everything else you need from across Microsoft 365. This is a completely different vision of what multitasking looks like in the Copilot age. Agentic creation is one thing, but agentic automation takes Copilot to an entirely new level. And one of the big new capabilities added recently to Outlook has been calendar instructions, a mechanism for Outlook to proactively manage your invites. Calendar instructions allow us to give Copilot rules to follow that allow it to deal with incoming calendar invites. You can initiate this setup from settings, but the actual work of setting them up is done in chat. It's an easy process to get started with, and while in this demo tenant where there really isn't much data, this looks like a very simple rules-based approach. In my production tenant where I have years of email, the suggestions Copilot made on rules that might be helpful, including referencing specific projects and people, were far better. One of the big issues with the Copilot age is doing safe demos that show you what WorkIQ adds is just really hard, because it depends on context that many demo accounts just don't have. To show you how this works, we'll create a simple one that's suggested, that if a meeting has FYI in the title, we'll follow it. This doesn't seem very practical, but maybe WorkIQ knows I only use this account for testing. I set it, it appears in my calendar instructions view, and if I fire off a meeting invite from another account with FYI in the title, you can see that a couple of minutes after it arrives, it indeed gets followed. Right now, the capabilities here are fairly simple rules. There is the opportunity in the future to more fully show off the power of modern AI models by having more reasoning-based versus rules-based gates here. I also think that learning over time would be cool. So far as I'm aware, this isn't inherently monitoring the way I process meeting requests to learn how I do things. But overall, this appears to be a very useful addition, with big opportunities for the future. This next announcement predates Wave 3 by a long while. It is the Copilot in Outlook feature I've probably been waiting for the longest. But automatic email prioritization, the feature known as Prioritize My Inbox, has finally started arriving in my tenants. This is one I've been excited to try. You can turn this on from the settings menu, and it has a few options. First, you need to manually turn it on, as it will be processing your emails as they arrive for this feature to work. From there, you can opt to have Copilot show you generated summaries in the message list for these prioritized messages. You can allow it to apply a low priority level, and you can also add rules. In this case, I'm going to add 2 simple rules. I want everything from Adele to be high priority and everything from Megan to be low priority. And from there, if I fire off emails from each of those accounts, you can see they arrive in the inbox with those priority levels, overriding the immediate perception of urgency or lack of urgency I put into the messages themselves. But these rules are the less interesting part of this. I've had this turned on in my main inbox for a couple of weeks, and without any rules, it does a pretty good job of prioritizing the right messages. And once you're pretty confident with it, you can even use inbox filtering based on that priority signal to show you just those prioritized messages. From my perspective, this is a pretty good addition, albeit a long time coming, for me at least. Overall, I think there's a lot to be enthusiastic about here with the direction of Copilot in Outlook, which for a long time has almost felt like the odd app out in terms of just how useful the Copilot experiences there were. There is, in my view, a big challenge for Microsoft though. Capabilities like calendar instructions or prioritize my inbox, or even agentic capabilities acting on the message lists themselves, somewhat tack on top of existing capabilities in Outlook to do many of those things. Working out how Copilot interplays with rules or how Copilot learns in the context of your actions, these are factors that are important both to usability and adoption. Outlook is a very complex app, and while these updates serve to make it more addressable with Copilot, there are still big opportunities to simplify with AI. What's your experience of these updates so far? Start the discussion down in the comments. I hope this run through was useful to everyone. Thanks for watching through to the end, and until the next video, bye bye.